Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. So I got a question from a viewer saying that I don't remember exactly which video he was responding to, but he said it gives me hope what you say about, you know, even sometimes when maybe the looks aren't there, you can pull a certain woman by force of personality. And then he said, do you think, if that is the case, do you think it's possible to improve personality? And I think that's a really good question. Um, I think the first thing that needs to be addressed, before we even get into that is, well, doesn't the question kind of violate black pill orthodoxy? And unfortunately, it does, because the black pill is dominated by a bunch of autistic retards. And this isn't news to you guys, all know that. Not every black pillar is an autistic retard, but the people who dominate it are. And, so which is what the black pill is supposed to be, and which is unquestionably true, is what everybody believed before World War II, which is that looks are the most important thing of how you're going to be judged. Not just in the dating market or in romance or whatever, but even anywhere in life. That looks are the biggest part. That's all in every culture, everywhere, at all times. That was always understood until World War II. That was the biggest thing. And then you have, like, got rediscovered, but unfortunately it was rediscovered, like I said, by autistic retards who've taken it to mean it's the only thing that matters and nothing else matters at all. And a lot of it, it's, I mean, again, they're autistic, they're stupid, so they don't know any better. But also, it's a coping mechanism because they want to, because it's one of those things how, like, I've said this, I know some people will argue with me before, but if you're getting, you know, um, it's much like, let's say you're like a 5'5" Asian guy and you're not doing well in the dating market. Yeah, of course, you're going to naturally say, you're going to want to say, oh, it's because I'm Asian, because what you don't want to do is say it's because of my height, and so it's easier. So blaming it on your race is more, it's easier to deal with, and it's the same kind of thing. It's especially true with people with autism who know that, like, nobody can stand them, that they're going to say stuff like, oh no, it's not because I'm autistic and can't read basic social cues and have the social intelligence of a retarded chihuahua. It's because I'm ugly. And when they say ugly, they mean, like, I'm average looking, or something like that. And the so I mean, there is some of that too, but like I said, some of it is just when you're autistic, of course they're going to interpret it as, like in those, like, binary extremes too. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But on this channel, we're beyond all that. We know that we have more of the classic black pill, which, like I said, it used to be just common knowledge. It's really just common sense if you think about it. And you can just apply it to your own life, anything you do. Just think about it like it'd be people you deal with. Looks, and that includes things like height, just everything about the physical appearance is going to play a huge part in how you judge people. It's going to be the only thing really you judge about on your first impression, at least before you've had a chance to hear them speak or anything. And even then, things like loudness of voice and how the voice sounds are physical things too. Um, but the but even as you get to know them, it's always going to always going to affect how you view people. And there, you can think of examples of this as well. Maybe somebody, maybe this was you yourself, who had like a sudden growth spurt in either in high school or after high school, and you've noticed how you're the same person, but people treat you dramatically differently. And the and I know that people who've had plastic surgery, they've to move their face up from like a 5 or 6 to an 8, who said that the way they've been treated is dramatically different, and I absolutely believe it. And I can think of let me think of some other examples. Well, those are kind of the main ones. Um, so, absolutely. You know, you see, like, and as I mean, I could see how somebody who's in that situation, like my personality didn't change at all. The only thing that would change was the outside, and I'm getting treated so much differently. And now, granted, there might be some just by you getting bigger or whatever, that could very well have some impacts on your personality that maybe you're not seeing. But I mean, I'm certainly willing to concede that if that's part of it at all, it's a tiny, tiny part of it. Mainly, it's your physical changes. So, I'm definitely not here to deny that looks are the most important thing. Again, not just in romance, but in everything in life. It's just for better or worse. That's how people are, and you don't have to like it, but it's reality. Um, However, you know, does that mean that if the looks aren't there, it's over? Well, it depends on what you want. I mean, it's not necessarily, and it depends on what you want. Like when you say looks, like the looks aren't there, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like you're 2'5" and you look like Quasimodo, and you have an arm growing out of your head? Like in that case, it's you're gonna I mean, it's gonna be pretty close to over, regardless of person. I don't know if I'd say it's over, but it's gonna be pretty close to over. Also, it depends on who are you pursuing. Are you pursuing social status maxed, age maxed, social status matched, age matched, race matched, income matched, job matched, intelligence matched, looks matched types? I think when you're doing that, I don't think it's ever over. Um, no matter what. Yeah, like even if you're autistic, there should be an autistic girl, right? Um, I know it's not as common with women. Um, but I mean, obviously, the worse the looks are, the fewer options you have. But I think that there's also like most, if we're just being honest with ourselves and really being realistic, most people on the internet, people who are watching Casey, people who are watching Andrew Tate, whatever, they're not really in these extremes. Okay, most of these people aren't that bad. Like, yes, their faces might be below average. Yes, they might be shorter than average. Yes, they might be scrawnier than average. Yes, they might be balding. Yes, they might be overweight. Yes, they might be a little on the dumb side. Yes, they might be broke. So all these things, and yes, they might be all of these things. Um, and who knows, like are the girls they're interested in like just totally out of their league, or what? And but that's like, so, but the thing is, so people, but a lot of these guys, like, whatever their flaws are in their looks, I'm talking about your typical, usually younger, but maybe not so young guy who consumes not so much manosphere content, because I feel like the MGTOW stuff tends to be for more the middle age guys, and like the masculinity stuff tends to be for the younger guys. Like I don't think there are, well, apparently from what I've heard, there are a lot of Casey fans who are middle age. But regardless of who they actually are, I always feel like when I'm watching Andrew Tate or Casey or anybody like that, especially Andrew Tate, that the target is younger guys. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that's what it seems like to me. Um, so those guys though, like, yeah, maybe they don't have a ton going for them in the looks department. And if most of my viewers on this channel probably don't have a ton. I'm not saying that they're all that everybody who watches this channel is below average looking, but I wouldn't be surprised if like overall my viewers do tend to be kind of average looking. Like maybe average or even a little bit below average. So black pill orthodoxy would say it's over, and then but we're not black pill orthodox here. So if it's not over, how much does personality matter, and can you change personality? So I'm finally kind of getting to the point here. How much it matters? Um, Probably a lot more than you think. And I've mentioned this in another video. It's kind of it's a loaded thing to say, because people who haven't had success are going to take that as an attack, understandably so. They're going to say, like, oh, you're saying that not only are you, so I have, like you're saying, I haven't had success. And you're saying that some guys who maybe aren't particularly good looking, maybe not better looking than me, maybe worse looking than me, have had a lot of success with women based on their personality. That's like indirectly an attack on me, because you're saying that A, my personality sucks, and B, that what you're really saying is that it's my fault. It's my fault that I struggle, and that's like red pill and blue pill shit. And so I could understand absolutely why they would be offended and why they would feel attacked. That's totally understandable. But it's really not an offensive and attack, because the thing is, personality is essentially is very fixed trait. You don't develop a good personality or a good, like, it's like any more than you didn't earn a good personality any more than you earned height. You were just if you've got a good personality, which doesn't mean you're a good person, by the way. You can be a good person with a boring, shitty personality. You can be a horrible person with a great, charismatic personality. It just means that, a person, it's personality that's good for a given thing. Like, maybe it's a good personality for being a business owner. Maybe it's a good personality for being a coach. Maybe it's a good personality for womanizing. Who knows? But it, can mean like a lot of different things. So that would be the first thing. It's absolutely, nobody should interpret it as an attack, and nobody who's struggling should, struggling romantically, should be thinking that, that it's their fault, and I would never say something like that. And it is red pill and blue pill garbage. Like, even if these like incel guys, on who people mock and stuff, even if they are as bad as everybody says they are, they're actually, let's just say they're total pieces of shit and they're totally evil. I mean, obviously everybody's responsible for their actions, but it wouldn't, just because you're responsible for your actions doesn't mean that you're responsible for the outcomes. If you don't struggle with women because you're a bad guy or a piece of shit. You struggle with women because of things that, are totally outside of your control. Things like your looks, and personality and stuff like that. So when we get to the point is how to. So when I said, but I want to get back to it. When I said, like, how much does personality matter, and it matters more than you think. I think what a lot of the younger guys would say is, well, it maybe mattered back in the day. It doesn't now. Now, that's one case where I cannot say with first-person experience. Like, I'm not going to get on here and argue with you guys about that, because you're the ones who know the Zoomer girls. I don't. So it could very well be different. I will tell you that even when I was young, okay, it mattered zero. Personality mattered zero in clubs and in online dating. It's never mattered in those forms. So there's always been times where, it wasn't just mostly looks, it was all looks. And there are probably some other times too. And, again, the younger generation, how do they even meet each other? Well, in clubs and online. So you're going to see a lot more of that. People are, when I was growing up, most people didn't even have cell phones, okay? Like, it was a huge culture shock to me in the early 2000s when I started seeing, like, people, like, leave class and then immediately start talking on their cell phones. Today, they wouldn't even be talking. Today, they would be looking at their cell phones. And so, I mean, I understand how much things have changed. So even if people hadn't changed at all, there would still be fewer opportunities to meet in person and for personality to be relevant. And then you get onto the fact, that people in general are just maybe more shallow now. And I'm not even saying that in a judgy way. But maybe shallow is a loaded term, superficial. So I will admit, okay, I'm going to admit that this is something where you guys have first-person evidence and I don't. You guys have first-person and I don't. And but I will say that regardless of generation, human beings are still human beings, and I don't think it changes that much on an inherent level. So my guess is that, yeah, even with Zoomers, personality is important, and maybe even just as important as it was in the earlier generations. Possibly even more important. And so the so then people think, like, it's like, let's just assume for the sake of argument here that I'm right. Okay. And when I say like important, I mean that, like, theoretically, um I'm trying to think, like, theoretically, like, let's say if I was young, right? Theoretically, somebody who looked like me, and like, I'm short, 5'9", really scrawny, the like, and I'm not talking about with my personality, but let's say I did have really good personality, and we'll talk about what that means later. Could I get, like, what could I pull? Well, in real life, like when I was younger, I did get sevens based on my personality, but that's, things like, I know that things were different some way. So sevens, yes, but I think with the right personality, you could even somebody who looks like me when they're young could even get some eights and nines. I know everybody's going to say cope, that's bullshit, it couldn't happen. I'm not saying any 8 and 9, okay? I'm saying some, if they're, like, in the right circumstances with the right time. So it really does matter, because it's not just about good personality or bad personality. It's about, just like, let me dial back a second. Remember how I was saying, like, you could have a good personality for sales, or a good personality for politics, or a good personality for business ownership, or a good personality for anything. And, it depends on what your goal is, right? Well, good personality even with a girl could mean a different thing. Like, you could have a really good personality for picking up a certain type, or even just a certain girl, and not necessarily, and that same personality could be horrible for others. Like, yeah, like, sure, like, I was able to have flings with some sevens because my personality was like a mesh for that particular seven. It definitely doesn't mean I could get any seven, or could have gotten any seven. In fact, I couldn't have gotten most sevens. Most of them would have thought I was disgusting. In fact, most fives would have thought I was disgusting. So it's not like you can't think of it in this autistic, like, black pill way of just like, oh, well, this personality means I can get this personality plus this level of looks means I can get this level of girl. It doesn't work like that, because they're so varied. It's more about how the looks and personality combo works for a given girl, not girls in general. Okay. Um, so, so I think that's the first question when people say, like, can you improve your personality? Well, the first thing I would say is, it depends on what you, the first thing we would have to talk about is depends on what you mean by improve. There almost isn't even, like, whereas somebody like taller, you can, like, taller is easy, right? Like, taller, I mean, it's not easy to get taller, but if you stretch somebody out, they're taller. And bigger, same thing. They're bigger if you blow them up, somehow. They're bigger, better looking almost. Black pill looks theories is like, well, you can give them upturned eyes, you can improve the eye area, you can maybe make the nose at least more proportionate to the face, make the forehead more proportionate to the face. We all know the ratios. You can there's a subjective element, that's true, and it's true that making your face better might not appeal to all girls necessarily, but it's going to appeal to most. And but those things we can just say, like, objectively better, objectively bigger. It's much more of a judgment call with personality, and so it's more about, like, the personality for the type of girl you're going after, and again, not even just the type, the individual girl you're going after. Now, not everybody's a special snowflake, but people are individuals. You're not going to find two human beings who are exactly the same. So I think that's the first thing. It's just like, so improving your personality. It's like, even just saying, like, you're improving your personality for the purpose of picking up women. I would say it's which women, like which women, because that's going to make a big difference of where you're going with it. The next question is is improving your personality even possible? Um, hmm. Unfortunately, and I've thought about this a lot, I don't think a yes or no answer is possible there. It's just too complex. Um, I will say this, your personality is dramatically out of this world, dramatically less malleable than, the Andrew Tates or even your blue pillar types of the world think. Um, it's very, I mean, okay, let's stop this. In my experience, it's impossible to forcibly change your personality. Now, I know it can change, and I'll get into that. But let's just say, right? Let's just say, um, you wanted to, I don't know, like I said, you wanted to make your personality a certain, like, say there was a certain personality way. Can you just through deliberate actions make yourself that way? No, I don't think so. I think you can deliberately try to act in a certain way, but I'm certain that A, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to sustain it. People won't buy it. And B, if you're thinking, well, maybe fake it till you make it, this is what I don't know if fake it till you make it works in some other things. It does kind of work in sales. It won't work in this. Not for a total personality change. Maybe for like a given attribute or something. Um, where was I? I think I was building up some momentum here. The thing is about personality changes. Like I can, at 40 years old, look back on my life in a lot of ways. Like on the inside, I feel the same. But if I'm like looking back, in a lot of ways, there were some pretty dramatic personality changes. Like I feel like my personality is a lot different than it was when I was 6 years old. I mean, again, maybe I kind of always felt the same way on the inside, but it is different looking from the outside in. So, and anybody could say the same thing. Your personality does change with time, but that's not really changing your personality. That's just kind of maturing and growing and stuff. And overall, I think, maybe some changes are for the better, some changes aren't. Just kind of like how somebody like could, some people as they mature, they get better looking. Some people as they mature, they get worse looking. So it depends. Um, so, that's the one sense. Okay. And then, personality though, like should be malleable. Like, let's just say, all right, let's just say you want Andrew Tate's personality. Can you do that? Now, I'm not saying will it work. I know you'd look ridiculous with it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying can you do that? Like actually, not just like act like Andrew Tate, but actually be Andrew Tate on the inside. Now, I think a lot of people would say no, and if I'm being honest, I would have no idea how to tell you how to do that. But the thing is, theoretically, it should be possible. And the reason I say that is for two things. One is people who have traumatic brain injuries or like really traumatic brain injuries, even if they 100% recover, like I'm talking about in a situation where they're in like a coma or something and the brain essentially needs to rewire itself. Even when they recover 100%, their personality is completely different because their neural wiring is different. Their brain rewired in a different way, and they just have a completely different personality. So if that could happen, and granted, like that means it's theoretically possible. However, even in that example, that's only in response to a traumatic thing. Like, can your brain really rewire the whole thing in the absence of just being like having all its connections shut down and essentially need to be rebuilt? The connections have to be rebuilt from the ground up. I don't know. I would assume no. Um, but yeah, but the other thing that would make me think is multiple personality disorder. And like a lot of people, I don't know if people today still don't believe it, but when it came out, a lot of people didn't believe it because, it just doesn't really make sense. Like, your personality is your personality, right? But assuming multiple personality disorder is a real thing, I think it's called dissociative identity disorder. And I've got no reason to believe it isn't. I'm certain it's not made up. I'm certain it's real. Then you're seeing people with like that person's got their body, their physiology, their personality is just completely different. They might have multiple different hence the name, multiple different personalities that are completely different. And these personalities can be like completely different ages and races and stuff. You know, like you could have serious like me have a personality that's like a 25-year-old black woman from the ghetto or something like that. You know, and so in that sense, if that can happen, it should theoretically be possible to change your own personality, right? Because that doesn't even involve any damage. But the thing is, like, okay, theoretically, yes, but I would have no idea how to tell you how to do it. So I mean, and that's what it's going to take. If you want, I mean, if are you trying to like improve your personality in the context of like, you know, you are who you are, but maybe there's certain characteristics you want to improve, or are you trying to do a complete personality overhaul? If you want to do a complete personality overhaul, again, this is just an example, okay? If you want to be like you want to make your personality like Andrew Tate, theoretically it should be possible. Theoretically, it should be totally possible for you to make yourself Andrew Tate. Not in like looks and success and everything, but in terms of personality. You should be able to develop Andrew Tate's personality. More or less, you know, I think he's pretty high IQ, so you are gonna be limited somewhat by your IQ. But you know, only two. I mean, yeah, that's not usually a deal breaker, or it shouldn't be a deal breaker. Theoretically, you should be able to do that. But I can't give you any advice because I would not only would I not know how to do it, but I'm not sure it's ever been done. I mean, again, people have developed new personalities and stuff. There's the brain damage thing. There's the multiple personality thing. I don't know of any example of somebody who's ever successfully developed an entirely new personality deliberately. I don't know a successful a single example. So I can't give any advice on that, but theoretically it should be possible. So if you can figure out, you'd be the first, and then there's probably a lot of money to be made. Now, are there ways to improve your personality? And that's a trickier question. If you see my fixing an incel video, I kind of talk a little bit about it. It kind of depends what's wrong with your personality. Like, do you just have no charisma? In that sense, I'm you know, I don't want to black pill you, but I would say no. I would say if you don't have charisma, you're not going to develop it any more than you develop height, unless you do the thing I talked about earlier, like the brain damage or the multiple personality disorder thing. If you don't have charisma, you're not going to develop it. If you're not funny, you're not going to develop it. You know, if you're not intimidating, you're not going to develop it. You know, if I do think it's possible to improve presence. Like there's no way, if you're not scary, you're never going to make people scared of you. Okay, it's not going to happen. You know, barring like one of those extreme things I talked about. But you could, through like this is like real self development, get to a stage where maybe you can intimidate other people, but you're not intimidated by anybody else. And that might improve your romantic options too. And how you would do that, well, that's kind of beyond the scope of this video. So I don't know, because I don't even know if that's the problem. You know, it depends on, you know, what your issue is. So some things like that. But like, let's get back. I'm getting back to what I was talking about earlier on the like fixing an incel video that I did way back in the day. I definitely don't stand by all the advice I would have given back then, but a lot of it I would. And the problem with his personality is just that he was fucking annoying. Like, he wasn't funny. He wasn't likable. In fact, he was really obnoxious. And so, like, his personality, it was, like I said in the video, his personality was awful. It was horrendous. Not a bad guy. It wasn't a bad guy. Just so irritating. And not funny at all. Now, nothing was going to make that guy funny. Nothing was going to make him charming. Okay? So, in a case like him, I would say, again, it's like, I mean, it sounds like he got married and ended up doing well. So, again, I mean, I think it's always best to just kind of be who you are, and then wherever life takes you, it takes you. Because, I mean, if he did get married and have kids, which sounds like he had, maybe he grew out of some of the annoyingness, but he found somebody who was able to like him for who he was and had success. So I think that that's going to be your best bet. But, you know, that's just general advice. Let's just forget about the advice and just say, you know, you do like what would make somebody like him have more success with women at his age and his place and time. Well, what I was saying is, and he's a case where his personality was so bad that no personality would be an improvement. So I said, for somebody like that, what you're going to want to do is really calm the mind down. Like, just, no, no reading, no writing, no watching TV, no socializing, no anything. Just, go, like, you work out, study, work, and other than that, you just stare at the wall. So, your mind is like completely still all the time. And you do that because, you want your mind, you need your mind to be still, because when your mind's not still, the real you comes out. And in his case, the real you was really, really annoying. So, that's one thing you can do. And then if you're just, we're talking about things like, can you be more courageous? Um, well, I mean, yes, you could. That would be, but again, that's kind of beyond the scope of this video. And just having more courage, first of all, it's not going to make you any more attractive. Second of all, it's not, it's not necessarily going to affect the way you feel on the inside. Like, you're in terms of picking up women, you're better off being somebody who's basically a coward who can't deal with fear, but just doesn't feel it. Doesn't feel it, than somebody who's like does have the courage to really face in fears, to do whatever's necessary. That's what real courage is. But that person is not going to have as attractive a personality as the person who's just very fearless and totally uninhibited. So could you make yourself fearless and uninhibited? Again, that would be the dramatic change, like the make yourself Andrew Tate type thing. Not saying that he's fearless, but that would be like beyond the scope of what it did. So you can become a better person. Or are you going to have a better personality beyond what you get from just living life? Probably not. And it depends. Like, if it's your personality is so bad that it's costing you stuff, well, then you're better off just calming your mind down so people don't see your shitty personality. But if there's nothing really wrong with your personality, you're just not charming or just not charismatic enough. Again, I don't want to be a total black pill here, but I don't think there's anything you can do. I mean, theoretically, there's something you can do, but practically, there's definitely nothing I could tell you. And I don't think you will. I don't think you will ever successfully change it if that's what you want. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next.